Oh,
Okay,
no.
that's okay. It was kind of disjointed anyway. We started at a weird spot.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Dads of Dagobah.
Brother.
A quick spoiler alert. We are about 11 minutes into this discussion, and we realize we never hit record. So,
Listen, we're new to this podcasting thing. We've only been doing it for 6 years.
so I just want everyone to know that the first 11 minutes of this conversation was just practice.
John, what's your word of the week?
My word of the week is, plumbing issues, because I never knew that just simple plumbing issues, that's all you need to do to escape prison, Joseph. You just need to create a little plumbing issue as a diversion. And your word of the week?
My word of the week is doggy paddle. Everyone can do it, even the dogs. So just jump into the water and do some doggy paddling.
Oh my gosh. Poor Andy Serkis obviously didn't do his swimming merit badge with the Boy Scouts. Yeah. He should have inflated his pants to keep himself afloat.
Tied around your neck there. Let's start off talking about this episode. It starts off right, kind of almost immediately where we left off. They put away the body goes away, and they go into Andor and Andy Serkis to go into a room, and it kind of goes back and forth a little bit about who's kind of listening to who. Andor knows that they need to start this rebellion now. The Empire's going to come. They're going to put more guards on the Force. And Andy Serkis seems to still be a little bit hesitant about what needs to happen, right?
Yeah, I think we see at the end of last week, a lot of people on Twitter were very excited about the last line of last week's episode where Andor asked how many guards on each floor, and Andy Serkis says never more than 12.
Mm-hmm.
Which was like, oh, he's in the fight now. But I think we're seeing he had that moment, but I kind of liked that we saw, all right, you just don't go 0 to 100 miles an hour in the span of 2 minutes.
Don't need some convincing.
Here's our plan, and this is what we're going to do. And he's still like, what are you talking about? You sound crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you sound insane. Like, they killed 100 men with the press of a button. Like, it's almost like Andy Serkis knows they need to do something, but he wants a little bit more time to process and, plan something.
And there's no time. There's no time to do that.
Right. Andor's trying to hit home the message. There will never be a better opportunity than right now.
They're replacing our guy. They're going to use the lift. It's got to be tomorrow.
Yeah. Because it's true. I think now, because the guards had to assume that news was going to spread. And so they needed backup and to bolster their staffing to keep that facility in line.
Yeah, and we see that they knew that it was being spread because from then on they had everyone stay on program, no talking in the hallways.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So we basically go into the barracks, and Cassian is trying to tell the rest of the inmates what they've learned.
Right.
And Andy Serkis is kind of just in his cell having a mental breakdown. Cassian cut it a little too close for my comfort on getting off of that floor.
Right. Kind of testing fate.
Seriously. And what you had already mentioned in our unrecorded portion of this episode was that, no one was really listening to Cassian. He was giving the information, but there was a lot of chatter and kind of, is this true? Yeah. Does this guy even know what he's talking about? And so,
what I'm saying.
Yeah, so as soon as Kino speaks up or Andy Serkis speaks up, it's when everyone starts listening.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that they didn't bog us down too much with a lot of dialogue on them planning what they were going to do. It was more like, get your heads in your cells and like think about how we're going to do this, and then we cut to another scene and we don't know, like we're not
they're waking up.
We're not listening to a 10-minute conversation about, okay, we're going to cut the plumbing in the bathroom, and then when the lift comes down, like we didn't need to see all that because we're going to see it unfold anyway, but we just assumed that they stayed up all night talking.
Yeah.
Planning their escape.
We see the next day they go, and they don't really have time to coordinate with any other people, not even their night shift. And they just go straight to work. And it seems like, what's the plan? The plan was to break a pipe with water, and then one person would just get electrocuted. I don't know what that plan was. I mean, it worked ultimately in the end. But was one guy like, I'll be the conduit to short out the whole system? Because it seemed like that's kind of what happened, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Was his death necessary to short out the system, or was he just the unlucky guy that got electrocuted before it shorted?
Oh, got it. Okay.
I have no idea, but I mean,
just the water on the floor alone shorted the system?
At some point.
I got it. Okay.
But I don't know. I'm not a physicist, so.
And they just start throwing things at the guards.
They start throwing things at the guards, and we were kind of mentioning this earlier. The one part of this that I was kind of like, okay, how realistic is this? Obviously, how realistic is any of this? This is a made-up sci-fi fantasy world. Yeah. But the one part that I was kind of like, okay, was the guards were one-shotting these prisoners. If they got hit by a blaster bolt, dead immediately. And I just felt like they could have been picking off and killing a lot more guys.
Yeah.
Like, I think that with those two guards up with the blasters, and then why didn't the guards like kind of fall back at least, or tell the guards sitting at the little desk, like, hey, get a blaster and come out here.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like, based on our prisoners having to jump up on the platform and get up and all that kind of stuff, they could have probably killed everyone in that room.
Yeah. Funnel them through the single door.
Yeah.
Game's over.
Yeah.
But of course, the Empire never takes cover.
Right.
Ever. They stand out in the open.
Right. Anyway. Because even when they were like he's like, attack, and they're throwing all the parts and stuff, they're not even really bothering the guards.
Not the Ewoks. I mean, the Ewoks were killing stormtroopers with little rocks. These guys are throwing 20-pound pieces of metal right at their face, and it's like, kunk, I'm fine. Yeah, didn't seem like it was phasing them at all.
Yeah. So that part was a little bit interesting, but yeah, lots of minor character deaths, lots and moving at a rapid pace. We're just clipping along. Yes. And these minor characters that, okay, they don't have the biggest parts. I'm not going to remember their names, things like that. But you're a little bit invested in them and feel like, oh, it's almost just sad watching, even though it's completely fictional. It's sad feeling like, oh, they didn't get out. Like they didn't make it. Anyway, I feel like that would be like a really sad fate, to be like, hey, I'm going to be part of a successful prison break, but I'm going to be one of the guys that dies in the process and doesn't actually make it out.
Well, I mean, that's what they told him. They're already dead anyway, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier, how I feel like in episode 6 as well, they did the same thing with these characters, whereas characters died, there was no beat given to their death. It was just boom. Rogue One, a lot of characters did die, but I feel like their deaths were treated differently. Like Baze and Chirrut and other people. Like they had a little bit of a moment to give. But in this, Bodhi, yeah. There's just...
But not Melshi.
Yeah, Melshi, he does die, though, in Rogue One. Is his death on screen? I think so.
I think so. I think because they're trying to get to that master switch or whatever.
That's right. Yeah. Yep.
But
Anyway, and then they break out of the floor. They start going to other floors, and I think what I loved about this was usually like they'd go to the other floors, and the other floors would be they're like, "Hey, we're going," and the floors would be like, "Okay, let's go," like rapidly, but they're just like, "Huh?" Like takes them like, "What do we? What's going on?" I love that very real moment. I feel like
and there's no real coordination. It's like open
yeah,
the door and be like, "We're leaving. Do whatever you can to climb out,
climb
but we're
out.
not gonna
Here's the
like.
lift.
I'm not staying to supervise this and help you.
Yeah,
You're on your own, but like here's your opportunity." But I was even thinking too, like that guy that just had a stroke and died. What if there's other guys like that that can't be climbing out of
yeah.
a place like that? I'm like, what are they gonna do?
Well, I think they showed like people were helping each other get up and stuff, right? And
Yeah.
during the prison break, one of the main things was this idea of climb higher and higher till they get to the top.
One way out. One way out.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting thing to be chanting, but a very cool scene.
I was surprised that I really thought that at some point the boots were going to come into play where they were going to need the special boots to not get fried on the floor.
Oh,
But
yeah.
instead, we see this scene that's a really kind of high emotion scene of Cassian and Kino. Is it Kino? Andy Serkis.
Snoke, Caesar.
Reaching the level 8 control room and taking that over and shutting off the power basically and shutting all the floors off, which was cool to see. I also, on the way up to that control room, was once again sometimes surprised by how quickly and liberally Cassian Andor will murder people.
Oh, yeah. But also, part of me is like, why didn't he kill those Imperials?
Yeah. And we see later Imperials like hiding in a closet somewhere,
Uh-huh.
in a little offshoot room. And
Yeah,
I feel like if they show themselves, they're dead.
yeah. But that wall behind them, did that show the yellow dots of the location of the prisoners?
That's what it looked like to me, and I was questioning how are they tracking them?
I wonder if it's like contact with the floor or something. I don't
Oh,
know.
probably.
But then the floor wasn't live. Also, I felt like that guy who took that first step onto the floor, I was like, he's about to die.
But we get, Andy Serkis having to get on the intercom and explain like what's happening. And I kind of like that it was a little bit clunky. That he starts off and it's like he's
Yeah,
not giving
there's no Independence Day. Yep.
some great oratory, planned, scripted, motivational speech here. It's like he's like, this is my name. We've taken control of the facility.
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, like get out, and then
That's it? That's all you got?
Cassian's kind of the cheerleader off to the side, like, hey, come on, you gotta step it up here.
I can't think of anything else other than the exit of the facility. They get to the edge, and then we learn he can't swim. It's a sad moment. It's a moment reminiscent of, I don't know, Moses not getting to enter the promised land. Moses does all the things, but ultimately can't get to the promised land.
I guess that's a pretty good analogy. It's just so random.
Yeah. Cassian and Jyn Erso not being able, they get the rebel plans off, but they ultimately die. They don't get to enjoy the fruits of their labor.
I feel like it's reminiscent of just even in Rogue One where that informant, gives Cassian information and he has a broken arm or whatever and he can't climb out of the place. It's just like the rebellion, the cause is like noble, but the nitty gritty of how we get there is going to have so many casualties like that like I think we're meant to feel that weight of no one's going to remember Kino Loy in the story of the rebellion.
Yeah.
Like he is a hero of the rebellion, but he's not. He's a forgotten hero. Like he's a nobody.
But he matters to Cassian and Melshi.
Sure. Who end up being casualties of the rebellion and don't see the fruition of their effort. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we had kind of, not to skip to the end of the episode, but Luthen's entire monologue is like perfectly describing this whole concept of I'm sacrificing my life for a future
what
that I want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a future I'm not going to see. For a sunrise that I'll never lay eyes on. Like, that's what we're sacrificing. But, yeah, I feel like, and we talked about this already in the unrecorded, the secret tapes of the podcast, that I felt a little bit like, okay, you not being able to swim, we can problem solve that. Like, we can get you to land. Come on.
Yeah.
Jump out here with us. Me and Melshi will help you stay afloat. And come on. Like, what's your other option? You're just going to stay here?
I think you jump in that situation.
Yes.
It's death otherwise, right?
Yes. You absolutely jump. Now, I do think that it was again, it's this like sad moment that we almost don't get enough time to process and just take a breath because it's chaos. There's men jumping out of this facility and Cassian accidentally gets knocked off before he can like try to talk to Kino about a solution. And it's like he's off into the water. And first of all, that seemed like a far drop. I mean,
my goodness, yeah.
Aren't those guys like breaking legs upon entry in that water or something? Isn't that like hitting cement at that point?
My goodness, it was quite the leap. Yeah, I don't know. It is kind of a sad. I think we already talked. Like, I don't know that we'll see him again. Maybe we will, but I think he's probably not going to be seen. Anyway, he's Snoke, so it's not like we can have him much longer, right? Because sometimes when he was speaking, Abby was like, "Okay, that's Smeagol right there," and then I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's also Snoke." When he was like, "You need to climb," I was like, "That's a little Snoke thing he got going there."
Well, it's also Caesar.
Yep.
Well, okay. Are we now? Is this headcanon that he stays behind because he can't swim? The Empire then recaptures him, and because they identify that he's the instigator that broadcasted to the whole facility, Palpatine himself comes and says, your punishment is I'm about to start experimenting on you, takes him to Exegol.
Oh boy.
Starts experimenting on him and says, I'm going to make you my first guinea pig of creating a new being. And he becomes Snoke.
Maybe he jumps off the platform and bashes his head in, and he is just Snoke, but recaptured by the Empire. Yes.
I think I didn't see anything in the episode that would contradict that theory.
And also he can use the Force.
Right. Well, obviously, again, it felt very epic to me. It felt very, I mean, on some hand, I have to assume, I guess, there maybe were people in that prison that did do bad things and maybe deserved to go to prison. I don't know. But it makes us feel like they all were unjustly incarcerated, right?
Yeah.
But one of those guys jumping out into the water maybe was a serial killer, and now he's back out on the loose. I don't know.
Great job.
That's not my problem to worry about. Right? I'm trying to say that what the Empire was doing was not right. And so, but yeah, I think that it was sad the people left behind and the casualties. And it shows that at the end of the day, too, it's kind of about survival.
Yeah.
And Cassian and Melshi, I don't think it's intentional. I don't think it's coincidence. It's intentional that the last shot we see of them is they're on the run.
By themselves.
It's not some emotional, they're standing there looking off or like taking a moment like to mourn their friends or the other prisoner. It's they aren't with any other prisoners. They've broken off. It's about survival. Like breaking out of the prison and doesn't end the struggle.
When we came to the Narkina 5 the first time, are there multiple of those pod things? Or was it just one?
I don't know. Honestly.
Yeah.
There might have been more.
Let's go to, I think next we go to Coruscant with Mon Mothma, and just the creepiest, unsettling part of this whole show to me. And also very interesting position she's in now. We see her speaking to a guy, and he kind of plays it off like, "Oh, I know your husband. Oh, the history of the Chaldeans is the arranged marriages, but it works like it's part of your culture, and it works. And these young arranged marriages are, whatever." And she's very short with him, and he's like, "Oh, I can see we're not, And he's like, she gets right down to business and talks about how she needs to move this money, and he accepts no fee. And right then she knows something's up. She's like, "Oh, I don't want to have favors to pay. I'll pay you a fee. Just name the price." He's like, "I'd like you to meet I'd like you to have a visit. I'll bring my 15-year-old." And immediately she knows, uh-oh, what have I done?
Considering we've already learned that she was married at 15.
Yep.
And, sounds like an old tradition, kind of the old ways for the Chandrillans. And, I mean, no secret that what we've seen from her relationship with her husband, the arranged marriage wasn't, an amazing situation.
Not a happy marriage. Yep.
No, not a happy marriage. And so the idea of, we've also seen kind of a strained relationship between her and her daughter over the few interactions they've had throughout the episodes. And so you feel even the weight of that, of like, oh, that would just, what little relationship you still have with her, you would just absolutely obliterate it by doing something like that. By having to go to your 13-year-old and say, "Hey, like, we're going to do an arranged marriage with this thug, this criminal mobster.
Yeah.
You're going to marry his son."
Yeah, the heir to his, thug empire, right? Probably just as getting trained up in the ways of his dad.
Yeah, and I think, even before that offer is brought up, you feel the contempt from Mon Mothma. Like, she just doesn't even want to be in that situation, but she's just trying to get through it as quickly as possible. And the Davo guy is just like eating it up. He just loves
twisting the knife.
The senator on the hook.
I don't for a moment consider it. Now that's the first untrue thing you've said, Yeah.
I really hope that she's telling the truth. I hope that she is like, "No, I'm not doing that."
But I wonder if her husband catches wind of it and is like, "That's a great idea." Yeah. He's a good guy.
Yeah, maybe.
Oy. That's it we have for Mon Mothma. So that story will continue. I wonder how that'll fit in. Because it's an interesting. How is that going to fit into anything? I don't see where this thread of this marriage and money laundering fits into the overall rest of the story, which I feel like is definitely connecting in the future. But anyway, we go quickly to why am I spacing on the name of the planet? Ferrix. Just for a quick scene, I think we see them talking to a doctor about how she's not taking her medicine because it gets rid of her appetite or whatever. And anyway, but it seems like there's two people watching them. First is our friend, and the second seems to be ISB agent or some Imperial guy, maybe.
Yeah. Some rando. I mean, I guess I question, what is Cinta still doing there? Is she thinking Cassian's going to come back?
I think they're just waiting for Cassian, yeah.
That makes sense. Well, Cassian is serving a 6-year prison sentence. It's actually a life sentence.
Well, he's out now. He's out.
He is out. That's crazy that I saw that on Twitter that someone was saying when he got his original sentence, the 6 years, that's actually a longer sentence than how much longer he had left to live. Like he's going to live another 6 years.
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't it be crazy to know what day you were going to die?
Wow. That would be crazy. The last scenes, can you help me understand what's going on here with the ISB agents? They had the ship. They killed the pilot, or turned him. They said turned him. I'm like, I thought they killed the guy.
They did.
And then they disabled the ship and sent it on. The Empire is the one who found the ship. Is that what they're monitoring? The Empire's comms saying, "Oh, we found this thing," and
no.
Whose comms are they monitoring?
I think the Anton Kirgo guy, right? Krigo?
But then they say like our typical thing would be to go investigate. We should go do that. I don't know.
Maybe it's just like the local. Maybe it is the Empire local authorities, but ISB is saying, "Hey, ISB would usually get involved in something like this." So like the local sheriff found it, but then the FBI is getting involved.
I got you. Yeah. Okay. Then we have a double agent. Didn't see this coming.
To me, he's kind of the original General Hux.
Yeah. I'm the spy. What does Hux say?
I'm the rebel spy.
Oh, such a dumb scene.
Man, they did our boy Hux dirty in the sequel trilogy.
They did.
He is another example of a character from the sequel trilogy being the best version of themselves in The Force Awakens and slowly getting worse as a character. Right, Joseph? You agree with me, right?
I don't know. His Last Jedi arc's interesting.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
It starts with him getting punked with a "your mama" joke. That's not. No, it is not. He just absolutely just becomes a punching bag, manhandled by Snoke.
Sir.
He's a loser.
And then I love the scene though where he's in the throne room and he sees Kylo Ren down on the ground, and he goes to like get a blaster or something, and like sees Ren moving like quickly, like, huh. I love that little moment. Okay.
Anywho, but we do have a double agent here from the ISB.
Also a redhead.
Who contacts Luthen by marking something on a fountain and then removing a rail on a stairway. That's their signal.
Yeah, that's the signal.
To meet. And it's been a year since they've met up. So they go on some...
And he's had a baby.
So I actually kind of felt for this guy.
Poor guy's stuck. He's trying to do the right thing, but he's stuck. He can't get out.
I feel like you get in 6 years ago. I don't remember how long he's been in. When you're not married, you don't have a kid, and you think, yeah, okay, I'll just do this for money or whatever he thinks he's doing for the cause. And now you maybe have a little less conviction for that cause because there's new priorities in your life.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is incredibly relatable. Like, priorities change. And yes, you want to believe like everybody would be like that the rebellion would be their top priority. This is now my opinion, most people like aren't going to want to give their life for a cause like that.
Yeah.
Like even in just modern day politics, I feel like most people don't want to be a political extremist, and the rebellion, even though it's good, is an extreme. And most people don't want to do that.
So as a young boy, he's like, "Yeah, I'll get behind that." Then once he gets married, yeah, totally, I agree. Priorities changed.
Yeah.
He's like, "I can't keep doing this."
No, I absolutely want out of this because I want to live a docile, peaceful as I can life with my head down and just keep to myself with my family.
Yeah, it seems like he wants to get both out of the rebellion and out of the ISB, and Luthen's like, that's not going to happen. Yeah. You can't come to me with this big present wrapped up, ready to give me, and expect to just walk away. The ISB is not going to let you, and I'm certainly not going to let you. I worked too hard to put you where you are.
I think that's the trap. I mean, he's trapped because how are you going to get out of the ISB? But if you stay in the ISB and just cut off your ties with Luthen, then you're a loose end for Luthen. So then I was nervous, like, is Luthen just going to kill this guy?
Yeah, at what point after the year, I mean, if he hadn't contacted him at this point, was there some point Luthen's like, oh, he's a loose end, we need to get rid of him?
But Luthen still seems committed to, like, he's a valuable asset because he'd gladly let 50 other men die to keep this guy in his place without any suspicion.
Yep.
But yeah, I felt for that guy. I'm like, new baby daughter, and he just wants to be a dad and
it's rough.
Not be involved in this stuff anymore.
And Luthen, poor Luthen, seems like he just got started down the path and is now so far down it he can't. There's no way out. He's the same way. He's also trapped.
Well, and I think this, young father, I think he's looking across at Luthen and he's asking, like, what about this? Don't you care about this sacrifice that I'm going to have to make? And Luthen saying, like, I've sacrificed so much more, like, and goes on this, monologue about what he sacrificed. And if I'm that young father, I'm thinking to myself, okay, you've sacrificed all that, but what I'm looking at, I don't want to become you.
Yeah.
So I don't want to keep going down the path to become you, which is just so interesting in this whole idea of people, and I consider probably myself one of these people, which maybe isn't a good thing, but whatever. I would like to benefit from the people who are
causing change,
making this positive change, but I don't want to make the sacrifice.
Yeah.
Like, and this young father, that's what he's caught with right now. Is like, he may still believe in the cause, but he's like, I don't want to make the sacrifices required of me to do this. Like, because the sacrifices are enormous.
Too much. Yep.
And so it had me thinking a lot about just as an individual, what are you willing to sacrifice to see the change that you want to see? It's one thing to be vocal about it. But at the end of the day, my opinion again, most people are not going to make the sacrifices necessary to really see that change. They want to benefit from the change, but they do not want to be the change agent and have to go through the suffering that's required for the change to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I see it today in politics. We want to, I totally agree.
That's why I didn't vote yesterday.
Oh, you didn't?
I'm just kidding.
Oh. Well, one of our
friends. I don't want to have to make the sacrifice of standing in that line. I just want other people to vote for the person that I want to win.
And they stand in the line. That kind of wraps up this episode. There's 2 left, 11 and 12 still coming. Not the end of the season. I'm sure there's going to be something happen on Ferrix. Seems like that's the next place. And there is going to be a space battle at some point because we've seen that in all the previews. So
I assume it's got to be this Saw Gerrera and this storming of this power plant that's going to happen.
Yeah. Anyway, Let us know what you guys think of the episode. Obviously, you loved it, or you wouldn't keep watching this show. But let us know what you think. Would you stand up and be part of the cause that you wish to see? Or would you be a coward like Sean and just stand on the sidelines and watch other people do it and reap the benefits?
In the prison break scene, I'd be the guy hiding behind one of the back tables, and I might throw a few mechanical parts from cover, but I'd mostly be staying in the back. And then once we overtook the guards, then I'd start climbing up the elevator. And frankly, I feel like if anybody says differently that they would do differently, they're lying.
See, I'd be the prisoner that is in the room doing his stuff in the zone. People come and say, "Hey, we're prison break." I'd be like, "Oh, I kind of like what I'm doing here. Are we leaving?" I don't like change. I'd be like, "I like this place. I have a nice little place."
I feel like I'd actually go stand in the corner on program and be like making eye contact with the guards like,
I never moved.
I don't know what these guys are doing. I'm on program this whole time. And then when the guards are overtaken and die, then I'm like, yeah, we got them, guys.
Nice work.
Let's go.
See, I'd be the guy that'd be jumping off the platform, finally to freedom, and then break my neck as I hit the water. Be like, oh, darn.
Yeah. I'd be the guy that we're swimming and, oh, I got a side cramp. And I drown trying to swim back to shore.
See, I'd be the guy running down the hallway and I trip and fall and start like a little wildebeest stampede going on there and just be crushed to death by the people running over me.
See, I'd be the guy that would have gotten the robotic boots, like, I'm going to need these, and then realize once I jump in the water, they're dragging me down like some lead weights, and I'm drowning like Sam Gamgee trying to get out of the water in the Fellowship of the Ring because I'm just getting dragged down to the depths of the darkness.
See, I'd be the guy sitting in my cell, and when the things start happening, I'd be in the middle of my meal, and I'd be like, "Hold on, just a second, I gotta finish my meal. I need to get some nourishment." And then, as other people leave, I start sucking on their tubes because I'm like, "Oh, look at all this food."
See, I'd be the guy listening to the intercom say, "This is Kino Loy. All the floors are cold," and I'd be stepping out onto it, and I'd be electrocuted. He's like, "Wait, hold on, wait." We're flipping. Okay, now they're cold. Now they're cold. Hold on. And I'd be like, but you told me they were cold.
See, I'd be the guy who'd be on the potty while this all was going down and just being like, where'd all the water go? What happened to my water pressure?
See, I'd be the guy trying to get out of prison because I'm like, I'm trying to go to Chandrilla because I hear they'll just arrange marriage you to anybody.
Oh, gosh.
You start a new life on Chandrilla. Okay. Lots of prospects.
Man. Let us know in the comments what guy you would be on Arcana 5. And we'll leave it at that. Sean, it's been a great week. We'll see you next week. This is the way.
We have spoken. We'll see you next time on the Dads of Dagobah.
Dagobah.